The Brooklyn Nets have just traded Kevin Durant to the Phoenix Suns. This comes after the Nets traded away Kyrie Irving, which presumably prompted them to blow the team up after deciding KD and this whole Brooklyn Nets tenure was pretty much a disappointment and an underwhelming failure. Most did not see this coming, as some expected that after trading away Kyrie Irving, that the Nets would try to make more trades to further put more help around KD, as reports came out that they were looking to acquire Pascal Siakam to pair up with KD and maybe make a run in the playoffs. And bring in another star like Pascal could perhaps make KD, could perhaps prevent KD from standing on his stance of wanting to trade this upcoming offseason again, as he did this prior offseason. The full trade details follows. So the Nets receive Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, 4 first-round picks, and a pick swap. And for the Suns, they get Kevin Durant and TJ Warren. In all honesty, this might be the biggest trade in NBA that this league has ever seen of any superstar of this magnitude. As good and as accomplished and as valuable as Kevin Durant is, this might be one of the biggest trades. And the fact that the Phoenix Suns still have their core of Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and Devin Booker just makes this way more insane. As this past offseason, when KD originally requested a trade, the Nets were doubled down on, if we're trading KD, we want a bunch of picks and a superstar player or a guy we can develop into a superstar player. So they were contingent on, the only way we're trading KD to the Suns is if you give us Devin Booker. That's what the reports were saying this past offseason. But now for them to basically take so much less for a guy of KD's caliber and what they originally doubled down on is insane. And I'm not sure just what direction, I'm not sure why the Nets would take so much less. Even if they are looking to start over and rebuild, you would at least want to get a player. I guess maybe that's what they see in Cam Thomas. I'm not sure. Maybe Cam Thomas has been playing very well this past. Cam Thomas has been playing very well the past few games, putting up back-to-back 40-point plus games. He's been showing his ability to be an elite level scorer, and maybe they see Cam Thomas as this could be our star guard, but I think you could have got so much more. I think teams were willing to give up so much more for KD, even if you were wanting to go that route to, say Cam Thomas is going to be your star guard and you want to trade KD, start over, flip this thing around. You could have got so much more. Instead, you did get Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and Jay Crowder, who are solid pieces. Mikal Bridges is a little better, and Cam Johnson is pretty nice. But you basically traded KD away for pretty okay to good role players. And you did get four first-round picks, but I doubt those first-round picks are going to be anything of value. I doubt those first-round picks are going to be anything crazy, being as that the Suns seems like they're going to be pretty good in the West for some time, for right now, as it seems. This has been one of the craziest trade deadlines that I've seen. Once again, for the Suns, I'm pretty sure the Suns are ecstatic for what they just got and how little they had to give up for KD. And the fact that they still have Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and Chris Paul. They didn't have to give up none of them. This is a super team. It's a super team all over again. It's insane. And I'm not sure My thing is trading for the Nets, trading away you basically traded away your two superstars in the same couple of days, and you have, and I don't think you, and I feel like you've been on the losing end. You've been on the very well end of each trade. I don't understand. I don't see where they're going with this. I mean, yeah, you did get some picks from the Mavs, and you got 4 first rounders and a pick swap and some pick swaps from you did get a first round. You did get a first rounder and some picks from the Mavs for Kyrie, and you did get 4 first round picks from the Suns. But I feel like you could have got so much more for both of those guys, and the fact that you were so double down on getting a superstar player in return for Kevin Durant, when you could have gotten so much more for Kyrie. That in my opinion, I think you could have gotten so much more with Kyrie, and I feel like you could have still build around KD. I feel like you still had a chance. You were still fourth in the East, excuse me. And I still feel like if you maybe got from the Clippers, if you got a Robert Covington and a Norman Powell and maybe a first round pick and maybe a couple second rounders, that would have been good enough to start building. That could be good enough to make KD be a little content and maybe, make a run in the postseason. Because I still feel like they had a pretty solid team if they got enough in return for Kyrie, but they didn't. And trading away KD now when you were set on getting Devin Booker, when you were just having talks with the Suns earlier this past offseason, and with other teams you were demanding a superstar in return, to now you settling from pretty okay to nice to good role players. It baffles me just how the trade value in the trade market shifted these past couple of days. It's crazy to me, and the fact that the Nets have been the reason for all of it. I mean, we just got Russell Westbrook traded. It's crazy. And before I move on to the Russell Westbrook trade and the Lakers trade, I feel like we got to question the Brooklyn Nets ownership. I feel like, the reason why you trading KD is like, okay, maybe they're going in the rebuilding direction, but you still have to question the Nets ownership, going from their owner and their general manager and their basketball operations, because you've traded away your two before we even get to that, you've got James Harden. A couple years ago, you got James Harden to pair up with KD and Kyrie. Okay, you got a super team right there. That's okay. Things didn't really go your way. You had some dysfunction within the team. Chemistry wasn't as well as it was like, and you traded away James. Okay, the way James was looking, okay, you can make that understandable that James wasn't looking right. He looked like he was on the decline. And, Ben Simmons still assumed, it was still assumed that Ben Simmons had a lot of promise and that he would still be a pretty good role player he would be a pretty good player going back to his, days before his downfall with Philly. He was an all NBA level player, an all NBA level defender. And you thought you could add that. And I thought that would have made them better with adding Ben Simmons, but no, Ben Simmons didn't pan out. Ben Simmons is still having the struggles. He's still showing the lack of ability or the lack of drive to get better and improve. And you lost the Ben Simmons trade. Let's be honest, you lost that trade. Okay, now you have the whole Kyrie situation with you guys, not being on the same page. Kyrie with the whole vaccine, sitting out. You guys suspending Kyrie from the team, then inevitably lifting the mandate, and then having Kyrie come back. But then during that postseason run, you get swept. You get swept by the Boston Celtics, who, obviously went to the NBA Finals, but you still got swept with KD and Kyrie on your team. So, and then you go into this season where, it still seemed somewhat salvageable. We still had some hope. We still had a little bit of, optimism on maybe if Ben Simmons could improve. Maybe Ben Simmons could add something to this team, which he obviously hasn't. But you also have seen the likes of Cam Thomas, who turns out to be pretty good. And, with the firing of Steve Nash, adding Jacques Vaughn as your head coach is shown to be a big improvement. You've improved defensively. The defensive improvement of Nicholas Claxton, the promise that Cam Thomas is showing. This team showed the ability to, this team could maybe not make the championship, but they could be a dangerous team to make a solid run in this postseason this year. And then you had to fall out with Kyrie Irving, and then you have to trade him. But then you trade him for Joe Tsai. You traded Kyrie for less in spite of Kyrie because you didn't want to give Kyrie what he wanted. Now I understand, on the other side of, okay, a player treats me well. A player has been good in his tenure, and I'm going to be good to him and send him where he would like to go, or a place that would be beneficial to him. But on the flip side of you taking less just because, in spite of a player, when you would inevitably trade your other star player in Kevin Durant for obviously less than what you originally planned or wanted. And your star players your organization seemed to be very dysfunctional. You didn't have, from your star players to your management, it seemed to be a big disconnect. It didn't seem to be a great relationship with either parties, with KD and Kyrie too, Joe Tsai and general managers, and, dealing with all that. Seemed to be a lot of dysfunction and just a lack of capability, because I just don't see what the Nets are doing with here. But that's besides the point. I'm going to move on to the Lakers trade, because I wanted to talk about that too, but I'm going to just include all of this in one because this has been a crazy couple of hours. So, Russell Westbrook traded to the Utah Jazz. It was a 3-team trade between the Lakers, Utah, and Minnesota. The Lakers received D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt. And trading away Russell Westbrook to the Jazz received Westbrook, Juan Toscano-Anderson, Damian Jones, and the Lakers' first-round pick with some protections on it. And Minnesota, in turn, gets Mike Conley, Nick Alexander Walker, and 3 second-round picks. That's what Minnesota got. This trade comes after a disappointing and underwhelming, pairing of Westbrook with LeBron and AD to the Lakers, And it was obvious that Westbrook wouldn't be around much longer. If he didn't get traded this offseason, he surely wasn't coming back. If Westbrook wasn't traded by this offseason, he surely wasn't coming back, He surely wasn't coming back after this year. D'Angelo Russell, he once played for the Lakers, so there is some familiarity there. With the Lakers receiving Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt, I feel like getting rid of Westbrook, you get some cap space freed up. This has the opportunity to be very beneficial, cap space wise. But looking into this year, you get a point guard in D'Angelo Russell who can make pretty well. He's not the best. He's not really the best true point guard, a guy you can look to run an offense consistently and efficiently. But he is a guy who can make shots. He can play make. He can, shoot the three. You have Malik Beasley, who can, is questionable defensively, but he is a guy who can make open shots from, pretty consistently. And you got Jared Vanderbilt, who offensive ability is in question, but I doubt that matters right now, as he adds to the Lakers' rebounding and defensive, prowess, which I think is much needed for them right now. Because the Lakers, it's very prominent that it's very obvious that they can score, but it's just playing defense at a consistent level and getting stops and getting out in transition, because that's where they play their best basketball, getting out in transition, running the floor with LeBron, running the floor when they had Westbrook, And for the Jazz, it's obvious that the Jazz are just kind of, just trying to make some moves that'll put them in the best position to get for. I'm guessing they're assuming they'll get Victor Wembanyama if they get the first overall pick, and if not, they still got Scoot Henderson, who can be very prominent. But I say that because the Jazz are still a fringe playing contender team, which is the funny part about it, is nobody expected the Utah Jazz to be as good as they are. They still have Lauri Markkanen on there. They still have a good group with Walsler Keller, if I'm saying his name right. They still have some very good pieces with Abaji, Jordan Clarkson. They got some good pieces there. So maybe they're going to be their core with Lauri Markkanen, Jordan Clarkson. Maybe I think that's possible that they could be their core, but it doesn't look like they're just throwing the season away. I think they could mess around and still, make the play-in, which I think will hurt them, to be quite honest. I'm not sure if they'll just, start going down the standings this last half of the season, but, who knows. I think it's quite obvious that they'll buy out Russell Westbrook, because I don't expect him to be on this team for long, and I think Westbrook still wants to be on the team to where he feel like he has a chance of, having some form of success. So, I can see him getting bought out, and there's been rumors that teams like the Miami Heat, the Chicago Bulls, and I think I saw some things going on with the Clippers that, after they buy out John Wall, they might be looking for Russell Westbrook to pair up with. So I'm not too sure. So, I doubt he's going to stay with the Jazz, but who knows? I think the Jazz are just trying to navigate through this year and, hopefully get a lottery pick and a high lottery pick so they can really start uplifting their franchise. Okay, now for Minnesota. This trade I understand why they made this trade, because, it was quite obvious that they needed a better point guard who can run an offense, who can actually run an offense, control an offense, They got some veteran leadership. Mike Conley is a veteran. He has been to the playoffs multiple times. He knows what he's doing. He's a guy who can, help guys like Rudy Gobert or, Anthony Edwards get their shots, and when Karl Anthony Towns. So I think I understand where the Timberwolves were going with this trade, but Mike Conley is a little bit older. He's not the same defensively as he once was. And you did get 3 second-round picks, but this season has been pretty underwhelming when you add in the fact that you made that blockbuster trade of Rudy Gobert and basically trading away your future for Rudy Gobert and for a guy who hasn't elevated. That trade hasn't elevated, not him per se. You could say him, Rudy Gobert, but that trade in itself hasn't really elevated the team as one would hope. Karl Anthony Towns has been dealing with health issues, but still, I just think Minnesota. I think this season right now is just it's done for Minnesota. They might make the play-in, they might remain in the play-in and stay alive and maybe win a playoff game or two, but after that, I think that trade for Rudy Gobert really hindered them and really changed the outlook on the future of this franchise when they traded away a lot of their young guys for Rudy Gobert. So, you know, it's just kind of, it's crazy with this trade deadline. I'm sorry. This trade deadline has been pretty wildly insane, and this is really just off the top of the dome. I don't think I'm going to do too much editing on this one, because I just want to get this out as soon as possible. But yeah, it's quite insane. But you know, I'll be making a better video, a better in-depth video, a better edited, well put together video sometime to later today or later tomorrow, because right now it's 2 a.m. and this is my initial reaction. So this is our initial reaction. So, you know, hopefully, well, not hopefully, I will make a better, more in-depth, more well put together, thought out video. Sometime I'll start working on it sometime later on today, and hopefully have it out before Friday or Saturday. That way, when the trade deadline is over, we can cover the whole trade deadline and basically all the big moves that were made, and you know, we can go in depth with that and a little bit more thought out and put together. So, but yeah, that's my initial reaction. I hope you guys, you know, enjoy my little rant and just me, you know, giving my thoughts about everything that's been going on. I hope, man, I really hope that. I don't think this. I think this might be it for the trade deadline when it comes to massive trades, but you know, Lord. But let me know down below what you think of each trade, especially the Kevin Durant to the Phoenix Suns one. Let me know what you think about Russell Westbrook being traded, and what's the future of the Lakers. You know, so I hope you guys have, you know, a good night, good day, whatever you're watching this. I appreciate you for listening. So, you know, peace out.